This is the HX Stomp, and this is the HX Stomp XL. What are the differences between the two of them? What are the similarities between the two of them? And which one is right for you? That's what we're going to be going over in today's video. Obviously, there are going to be more features in the XL since it's bigger, but there are some things that they do very equally. I've been a long-time user of the HELIX and the HX Stomp. I've done countless videos on both, and I do find that the HX Stomp XL really does fit a nice balance between the two of them. Obviously, it's not going to be as big as the full HELIX, but it also has a lot of really great features in still a very compact size. And there's one feature in it that I really love that I did wish was on my HX Stomp. Just FYI, this is not a video about how to set up your HX Stomp or HX Stomp XL. I have a whole other detailed video about programming and getting started with your HX Stomp or HX Stomp XL. If that's what you're here for, that is the video that you want to watch. This video is going to be about comparing the two so you can decide which one is right for you, and if you currently are an HX Stomp holder, if it's worth upgrading to the HX Stomp XL. I do want to say many thanks to Sweetwater for sending over the HX Stomp XL for me to check out and for sponsoring the video. Just like always, all my opinions in this video are my own. Like I said, I've been a long-time user of HELIX and HX Stomp. I actually bought the HELIX the day it came out, basically. And spoiler alert, I do find that I really love the bonus features that you get in the XL personally. If you do decide that either of these products are right for you, there will be links to purchase from Sweetwater down below in the description. That's enough of the intro. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, let's go over the obvious size difference. The only thing that's different about them is the length. So you can see that the XL is just over a foot long, and the Stomp is just under 7 inches, about 6.5 actually. So the XL is basically double the length of the Stomp. But you can see it's the exact same height, and it's also the exact same depth. It's just about twice as long. Okay, so these are very similar in multiple ways. So first of all, they actually have the same exact number of inputs and outputs. Everything is exactly the same in that regard. You have stereo inputs and outputs. You have a headphone out. You have a MIDI in and out. You have a stereo send and then 2 return ports. And you also have a TRS input for assigning either 2 additional buttons or 2 additional expression pedals and USB-B. The HX Stomp XL just has all of that on top, whereas the HX Stomp has it some on the top, some on the left side, and some on the right side. But there's no additional inputs or outputs between the two. It's the exact same. And then the controls and the navigation are all the exact same as well. I can push the view button to switch between the different views. Obviously, the views do look a little bit different. I'll address that here in a little bit, but the controls are the exact same. I can hit action and move this block around on both of them, hit the page button to change some of the parameters, use the knobs to change some of the parameters. Again, this video is not about how to control the HX Stomp and getting started with it. Again, I have a separate video about that, but the controls are literally all the same. I can assign a block by just putting my finger on the foot switch. So I'm going to assign this reverb to this switch right here. I'm going to assign this volume pedal to this one right here, and so on and so forth. All the controls are the same. And also, in both of them, you only get 8 blocks total. On the full HELIX, you get more, but you can see there's 8 blocks in the HX Stomp XL, and there's also 8 blocks in the HX Stomp. And it also has the same amount of DSP as well. If you're not familiar with what the DSP is, some blocks use up way more DSP, like the poly pitch is one of the ones that uses the most DSP power, and you'll start to run out of options. You'll see when you go to assign something, some of them are grayed out because you've ran out of DSP. The HX Stomp and the HX Stomp XL have the exact same DSP. So that's where it's similar. How about where they're different? That's what we're here for, right? So where they're different, this is a big one, is that you get to control 6 different effect blocks on the HX Stomp XL, whereas on the Stomp itself, you only get to control 3. I'm going to just quickly assign a few of them to the HX Stomp XL so you can see, but I have control over 6 different individual blocks when I'm in foot switch mode. You can go into the global settings and set it to 4 and then just keep these other 2 as bank up and down. I personally like to just use 6 because you can always push this mode button, which I'll show you here a little bit later, and that will get you to the bank up and down mode. Now do keep in mind, of course, you always can extend this using a 2-button foot switch like this. I have a video going over that. I have multiple videos going over that specifically and how I use it. There will be details down below if you're interested in checking this out. But when I plug that into the Stomp, now I have a total of 5 foot switches. And when I plug it into the HX Stomp XL, now I have 8 foot switches I can control. So I could control every block if I wanted to. And again, don't forget, you can also use this expression input to use expression pedals as well. So if you wanted for wah or volume and stuff like that, I do also go over that in my video of how to expand your foot switches and all the different ways that you can do that. So that is also really cool. And the thing that's nice specifically with that is that you have the tap tuner right here. It's very easy to get access to that. With the Stomp, by default, it's signed to foot switch 3. So you actually only have control over 2 different blocks if the third one is used for the tap tuner. And actually, just FYI, the way that I use this 2-button foot switch with my Stomp is I assign this 5th one right here to be tap/tuner. That's the way I do it personally. But again, it's very nice that the HX Stomp XL has that as its own dedicated button. And then you still have 6 different buttons to turn on and off pedals and blocks. That's extremely helpful. So for snapshots, I'm going to set the HX Stomp over to snapshot mode by hitting the page over button. You can see on the HX Stomp, I have 3 snapshots, and on the HX Stomp XL, I have 4 snapshots. That's awesome. 4 snapshots are great. There is a setting that I changed here in global settings where I set the snapshot mode instead of moment to toggle. I'll show you why here in a little bit, but that's how I get to this screen here. Just FYI, this is the way that I personally am using the HX Stomp XL. If you are not familiar with snapshots, I do highly recommend looking into them. I think they are the way to use the HELIX and the HX Stomp. It's incredibly valuable. I have a video going over it in detail, so let me show you here. I have a snapshot demo preset on my HX Stomp. We can see on snapshot 1, I have all of the blocks on except for this amp. When I go to snapshot 2, it turns all of them off. Every block is now off. And then on snapshot 3, it turns a couple of them on, a couple of them off, and switches the amp. But on top of that, look at what happens to the different parameters. You can see that the parameters change on each of the individual pedals. So I could set one snapshot, I could have the delay mix at like 20, and then the next snapshot, it's at 50, or more distortion or less distortion with one button press. Again, check out my video on that. That's just a quick overview of it. And again, snapshots are the primary way that I use it. Now, even with this 2 extra button foot switch, I don't get a 4th or a 5th snapshot on the Stomp. I only get 3 on the Stomp, and I only get 4 on the HX Stomp XL. But it's very convenient that you have a 4th snapshot. And this is also very nice, is changing between different presets or banks or whatever you want to call them. I usually change these based on a song, but in order to change that, I just make sure I'm in this mode and then push these down up arrows, go to the preset that I want. On the HX Stomp, it's much more difficult because you have to push 2 of the buttons together in order to start scrolling up and down between the presets. So scrolling through different presets is much easier on the HX Stomp XL for sure. That's also a huge plus. Okay, and then the most powerful tool in the HX Stomp XL, in my opinion, is this mode button right here. This allows you to switch between foot switch mode to turn on and off individual blocks, or switching between banks or snapshots very easily. On the HX Stomp, the only way to do that is by pushing this page button right here. So right now I'm in snapshot mode, now I'm in stomp mode, and I can turn on and off blocks. And you also have preset mode, choosing specific presets, or snapshots, which is usually what I leave it in. It's just snapshot mode, which has worked well for me. I've used the Stomp for so long. The only way that you're able to change those modes is if you use a MIDI foot switch. So you can send MIDI to it in order to change between the different modes. But that was the only way that you could really do it in the middle of a song without pushing the page button or something like that. I do go over how to use MIDI to control the HX Stomp in another video as well. Links up above and down below. But man, it's so much easier on the HX Stomp XL. Push the mode button. So let's say I want to go to snapshot 2, and then I can start turning on and off different effects. So I want to turn on my delay and my reverb for that specific snapshot. Let's get out of here and let's load snapshot 4. And in that case, I also want to add more delay and turn off the wah and turn off the EQ. Go to snapshot 1, and I want no delay and no drive on that one, for example. You get so much more control, and you're very easily able to switch between the 2 different modes. And again, under my global settings, under foot switches, that's why I have snapshot mode set to toggle. That's personally the way that I like to do it, because most of the time I only change presets for different songs, not in the middle of a song. Songs are presets, different parts of a song are the snapshots, and then I can also turn on and off individual blocks if I want to. Tons of different control over the HX Stomp XL with this one button. So you can also set this up so that the mode button will switch between foot switch mode and preset mode. And then in order to access snapshot mode, you push the up and down button together. I personally just find it easier to use the other way. Mode button switches between snapshots and foot switch mode. And then if I need to change banks or presets, I can just push the down up arrows while I'm in snapshot mode. That's just personally the way that I find it the most useful, but the option is there to do both. So as of time of shooting, the HX Stomp is listed at $550 and the HX Stomp XL is listed at $600. You can find purchase links to purchase from Sweetwater down below in the description, or you can also use the QR codes on your screen. Just my 2 cents, I do think that for only another $50, it's worth getting the HX Stomp XL because of all those features that you get. That mode button is just so helpful. Like I said, I've used the HX Stomp for such a long time and I haven't had it, so I've gotten away without it. But now that I have it with the HX Stomp XL, it's just such a valuable feature and I can do so much more because of that one button. I do also find that 4 snapshots is also very convenient to have, whether I separate the presets per song, or if I just have just a general, here's a clean, here's an overdrive, here's a distortion, here's a lead. Having 4 snapshots is very helpful. Also, being able to turn on and off 6 different effects is also very helpful, especially if you're used to just using kind of pedal board mode or foot switch mode, where you basically just turn on and off pedals one at a time. With snapshots, you can turn on and off multiple ones at a time. But if you do something like that, the HX Stomp is definitely very valuable because you can turn on and off 6 of them. You can also plug in an expression pedal and use it for wah and volume and stuff like that, or you can control different parameters, like you can use an expression pedal to control how much reverb you want. So all the way down is a lot more, and moving it back is a lot less. I know this is going to shock you, but I also have a video going over how to do that, and I'll link that up above and down below as well. Overall, for $50, I definitely think that it's worth it. However, you do have to think about the size of the pedal. You know, the HX Stomp XL is basically the size of 2 HX Stomps. So that is something to consider, especially if you already have like a pedal board or something like that, and this is to add to it, then the HX Stomp might be better because you don't need that much taken up on your pedal board. However, if you're going to use it as an all-in-one unit, like I personally prefer, that's where I think the HX Stomp XL is definitely very valuable because it's still not very big, especially as an all-in-one unit with how many features it has. Obviously, smaller makes it easier to travel with as well. I've brought my HX Stomp all over the world and it's gotten a lot of use, and I have a case that I use that I carry it on as my backpack and my personal item when I do fly gigs. So that is something to consider. However, the thing is that the HX Stomp XL still does fit in my backpack. I just have to get a slightly larger case for it. So I do think both of them can actually work as a fly rig. However, if you're good with just using 3 snapshots or 3 pedals, and again, that could be 3 to 5 foot switches that you have if you get the external foot switch as well. Or if you find yourself just using 3 different tones, clean, overdrive, and lead, or something like that, you definitely can get away with using the HX Stomp. However, I personally just think for $50 more, it is worth getting the HX Stomp XL. For most people, again, it really just depends on your needs. With my original music, I have it all MIDI mapped, so I do live looping and it's all MIDI mapped. All my pedals change at the same time. In that case, it's definitely fine to have the HX Stomp because I don't need a whole lot of control over it. However, there are quite a few shows I'm going to be doing where I am not going to have MIDI mapping to my HELIX or my HX Stomp. And in those shows, I'm definitely going to start using the HX Stomp XL. A couple of them I've already done, and there were a few times that just having that one extra snapshot or just being able to turn on that one additional effect in certain snapshots is going to be extremely helpful. So this is the one I'm going to start using more now. That's all just my 2 cents. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's just whatever applies to you. And hopefully this video has given you enough information that you can make that decision for yourself. So once again, I do want to say thank you to Sweetwater for sending over the HX Stomp XL for me to check out so I could do this video. And again, if you decide to purchase any of these products, there are purchase links to Sweetwater down below in the description, or you can also use the QR codes on your screen. 2 other videos I'm going to check out, as if I didn't suggest enough videos in this video already, but I do have a video going over all the global presets in the HX Stomp. It is definitely very helpful to know that, and I bet at one point, at least in the video, you'll have an aha moment, you'll change one of the settings, and you'll get more use out of your HX Stomp. So it's worth watching that video. And also I do have a video going over the best way to use the HELIX and the HX Stomp. You can check out both of those videos by clicking the links on your screen now. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.